What is happening, world? I think I might be live. Righty. So this one, I promise, is not going to be an audio podcast readout of a lot of data. I'm tempted to, but I decided doing that was painful. It did force me to read. It did force me to actually go through everything, but I thought, well, instead of putting you through that torture, maybe I just put myself through that torture. But it was encouraging to have others as I went through it. So, not sure if anyone is going to watch this one, but we'll just see what happens. Now, I don't know if I should tweet this one out. I'll look for a change. Let's see what happens. What is happening? Anyone in the chat? Welcome, thank you. What I might do, I'm actually going to tweet this one out for a change. Might get some eyes on it. I'll chuck back my particular image. Not sure whether this even adds to the stream at all. But, now, how the actual do I share this one? Alright, we'll try this, eh? Let's have a look. I think that'll work. See if anyone comes. We have a viewer. Welcome to the chat. What I'm going to do with this particular stream, it's not overly related to cryptocurrency, but it's related to the Fed, their future moves, the current moves, and I'm not sure the best way to present data when it's accurate. Whether you tell people before it happens and then it happens, or whether you show people once it's happened, the stuff you were made aware of. So I guess I'll just see where I go. If you have any questions, let us know. I'll try to address them. But yeah. Alright. Before I begin, I'll make sure everything's set up properly. What I'll do, I'll cover some. This one made me laugh, right? So, where's my OBS? It's just when I read it, I thought it was a joke, man. It's serious. I'm like, okay. They actually, there's an article, relatively new, and it explains how. This is the headline. So a lot of people don't read the headline, so I'll read the whole thing. People who skip their COVID vaccine are higher risk of traffic accidents, according to a new study. How is that correlated at all? But this is the argument. The study suggests that if you passed on getting the jab, you might be a lot more likely to get into a car crash. Reasoning, or at least those are the findings of a new study published this month in the American Journal of Medicine during the summer of 2021. Okay, so in the peak of the great mind control operation, one could call it. You might not agree with that. A researcher from Canada examined the encrypted government held records of more than 11 million adults, 16 of whom hadn't received COVID vaccine. They found that unvaccinated people were 70% more likely to be involved in severe traffic crash, in which at least one person was transported, than those who were. Are you like serious? This is similar to the increase of risk in car crashes of people with sleep apnea, though only about half the people who abuse. I honestly, I can't see the correlation. I don't want to read this out. It's just, it doesn't sound logical to be presenting this data. But it's like, oh, but we've got it. Yeah, but what about the study? What about if you presented a study of how many people are actually, you know, currently, say Australia, for example, about 95% of people are jabbed, which is fine. Nothing against them. 95%, is that like, what's the statistical chance of them having an accident versus the unvaccinated? But here the data is clearly saying that the unvaccinated are somehow of higher risk. And then you read here the logic is because the findings suggest that unjabbed adults need to be careful indoors and other. Oh, what the I can't. So it not only doesn't work against, you know, okay, I won't say that. Somehow there's a relation between medical treatment and real world physical actions. I'm I'm not sure if this is a joke or what this is. But yeah, that's a thing. So I thought it's almost a joke at this point, to me anyway, based on other research that's out there, which relate more to people's actual health conditions and actual side effects and how effective if it has been or versus ineffective, you know, actual studies, not explaining how people who skipped who didn't get a jab somehow of higher risk for traffic accidents. Yeah, it's crazy. Hello, welcome to the stream. I'm just covering this sort of, it's almost a joke at this point in time because not the virus, not the jab, just how they've melded, is that a word? Smooshed together some information and put together a report. I think I am capable of putting together a report if I could get some data explaining how many car accidents have there been and how many of them were vaccinated, and I could maybe find a correlation. Give me enough data, I can create anything you want. Anyone can. It's pretty damn simple. Now, just making sure my audio is on. What else we got? This is more interesting. Trying to think how to present it. Here's some more funny stuff, right? We have this tweet here. This is good. I'll go through my morning Twitter feed, check out, you know, what's interesting, what's not, what's funny. This appears, and I'm like, PayPal is integrating MetaMask? Okay, so this will enable you to buy ETH with a PayPal account within a MetaMask wallet. So automatically, I'm thinking, what are the requirements for opening a PayPal account? You know, like an address, other KYC requirements, which from memory, you know, I'm pretty sure a bank account as well. So you're gonna like tie, well, you do it with exchanges, so no big deal, I guess. But you're gonna then tie like your Ethereum address that I'm wondering how that's gonna work if you open PayPal. I haven't done the process and open PayPal account, and then you have an Ethereum account that is sort of prompted and instructs you how to do it. Yes, it will gain more adoption, I would think. It makes sense to, I guess, if more places start accepting, I don't know, like say like stable coins on Ethereum, and integrating that within PayPal, that could be a large step for adoption for cryptocurrency. But the one thing that concerns me is some people will say it's conspiratorial in nature, but when you have so first thing I would like to check if what I'm reading is actually true, which I believe it is, so I double check. Maybe click on the link, I don't know, but I thought I have this here preset. PayPal announced Wednesday an integration with Web3 wallet. MetaMask allows users to buy crypto using PayPal's tech. Okay, so it's not just a simple integration, it's allowing them to use PayPal's tech. So you're using PayPal's front end to access MetaMask. So it might be maybe slightly different to the way you have your MetaMask wallet in like a browser app. So, okay, that's fine. More adoption, more crypto. That's kind of cool, right? Then we see, but then I read somewhere else that there's some technologies, I think about 4 companies that are pretty well set for, say a central bank digital currency of some sort rolls out, whether it's through the Federal Reserve, like government issued, whether it's through some update that the Federal Reserve announces. There's a pilot task going on. What is happening? I thought I won't torture you all with my reading of the Federal Reserve entire webpage and all the reports. I'll torture myself and do that. I'll try and, actually say what I think in terms of what is going on in the crazy world. So, did you see and anyone else who is in the chat, did you see this? The whole PayPal launching a integration with MetaMask. Yeah, it sounds kind of cool, but like I said, I read somewhere, and I'll show you not where I read it because I'm having a hard time trying to find this particular email. But this same email presents a lot of other data. Now, actually, I'll show you that. I'll try not to dox myself because if I scroll the wrong way, there's a risk of doxing. But anyway, I think I'll share it with my fellow Hexicans and anyone else who cares to listen. It's pretty convenient for cryptocurrency users. It's very convenient for, I guess, regulation of people who use it. And that leads me to this. So it does have, yeah, it does have this. I mean, it's everywhere. It's like Yahoo Finance, they're covering it too. Cointelegraph, PayPal partners with, MetaMask. This one, this one. It's everywhere. And so it's pretty easy to buy, say, imagine if it syncs up with eBay or Amazon. And when you're purchasing, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm saying I can envision where it syncs up with larger platforms like that, Amazon, eBay, when you can use PayPal as an option. What if PayPal now can fund your PayPal account? So you have a balance of, say, $100 in a stablecoin, and then it registers on an Amazon website or eBay website that the $100 is available for purchase. That would be, in a sense, it would increase adoption to real cryptocurrency, as long as people understand what crypto is and how to hold your own keys, and maybe read some contract data just a little bit. So that's the positive, right? Negatives, arguably the KYCing, the integration of tying you to, hang on. So I'm just kidding. There's no black fan. Where was I? PayPal, right? So integrating cryptocurrency, PayPal, MetaMask, I can envision stables, Ethereum. I'm guessing people are going to use the MetaMask exchange if they haven't discovered Uniswap. And all right, I think that won't come through the mic now. Now, yeah, all of that, sorry, stream, all of that, plus this. So again, backtracking, 4 companies lined up for successful integration with a central bank digital currency of some sort. We have this. Remember PayPal? This is old-ish. July 29, 2021, by Ledger Insights. Haven't heard of this particular, website much, or used a lot of their media. But then it did have here that PayPal happy with crypto progress, but hang on, I'm gonna move this email out of the way. PayPal happy with crypto progress, but wants a role as central bank digital currency wallet. So my insane laugh is because PayPal is now, integrating Ethereum-based wallet, MetaMask, who is, without going into who owns it, and without going into who owns stable coins, without going into regulations and sanctions put in place, and without going into IP addresses, and without going to Infura, without going into all of that, which could be relevant to some of a privacy, who want privacy, not for nefarious means, but for, if people don't know about it, then they can't try and, I don't know, scam you or steal it or affect you in bad ways. From that aspect, if you want to do business, you don't want to have, maybe you're a public company, you produce all of your financial records at the end of the year, but you don't tell everyone how much you spent specifically with this, supplier, how much this person owes you, and how much money you hold in your, personal bank account, for example, and how the money is moving and where you keep it. You do sort of see that, but again, blockchain can fix and make accounting a lot easier. That's another topic. This one is basically, previously PayPal was happy with cryptocurrency, but wants a role as a CBDC wallet. So maybe they envision a central bank digital currency being on chain of some sort, and they want to, be backwards compatible with it, like having a direct. Have your personal account with the central bank, if that's how the central bank digital currency is going to function. But yeah, so I thought that's just interesting to point out. Yeah. So I'll let that all sink in. So while this has been going on, maybe there's been some steps towards crypto integration, but not the central bank digital currency, because that's not here yet. I'm waiting on that. I can't help but feel something like that could be coming in some way, shape, or form, if not already here to some extent. Regards to digital cash, when you look online, it's kind of digital, credit cards and the like. Now, I guess we covered the boring stuff. I will read this out quickly. So this is the Federal Reserve issuing the FOMC statement. Again, I covered some of this stuff, how it all works. Here, basically about the Federal Reserve System and who the Federal Open Market Committee is, what they do. They're communicating to us all. Basically, everyone knows now the rate, as we forecasted, or as people forecasted, that it would be 0.50% basis point increase. The next two maybe will be, I have it written down somewhere. It's either going to be again 0.50 or again 0.50, but there's a chance it might be 0.25. It just depends, because there's a thing called it's called the terminal rate, and basically that's where the natural causes of the economy, once the rate, this is going to be good, I'm not going to click that. Some more good stuff. Now, if the terminal rate, right, of the economy is where natural causes inflation to reduce, some think that it might be already at its terminal rate, hence why some people were pushing for, the rates to be reduced earlier. But as I mentioned before, that people don't want to pull the trigger too early and cause a situation later on where inflation then gets out of control because they, decided to make a move too soon. Now, Federal Reserve issues FOMC statement. Recent indicators point to modest growth in spending and production. Job gains have been robust in recent months, and the unemployment rate has remained low. Now, while I leave this up, what I will do, I will show you the email. Remove the video. Now, I'll read from that. You guys can read ahead if you want. Up to you. Now, recent indicators point to modest growth in spending and production. Job gains have been robust in recent months, and unemployment rate has remained low. Inflation remains elevated, reflecting supply and demand imbalances related to the pandemic, higher food and energy prices, and broader price pressures. Russia's war against Ukraine is causing tremendous human and economic hardship in the war-related events and contributing to upward pressure on inflation, and we are weighing on global economic activity. The committee is highly attentive to inflation risks. The committee seeks to achieve maximum employment and inflation at the rate of 2% over the longer run. Remembering it's about, 4.5 now or something? The rates, and what's the actual inflation rate, You have to minus those two, and then does that equal to? Now, in support of these goals, the committee decided to raise the target range for the federal fund rate to 4.25% to 4.5%. Huh? They only raised by 0.25. I have to check that. Fed rates used. So I'm pretty sure I read it raised 0.5. No, yeah, half point. That's a quick read. And then it just says here, the committee decided to raise the target range for the Fed. Target range, okay. To 4.25% to 4.5%. The committee anticipates the ongoing increases in the target range will be appropriate in order to attain a stance of monetary policy that is sufficiently restrictive to return inflation to 2% over time. In determining the pace of future increases in the target range, the committee will take into account the cumulative tightening of monetary policy and the lags with which monetary policy affects economic activity and inflation. The economic and financial development. In addition, the committee will continue reducing its holdings of Treasury securities and agency debt and agency mortgage-backed securities as described in the plans for reducing the size of the Federal Reserve balance sheet that were issued in May. The committee is strongly committed to returning inflation to its 2% objective, which is fine. In assessing the appropriate stance of the monetary policy, the committee will continue to monitor the implications of incoming information for the economic outlook. The committee would be prepared to adjust the stance of monetary policy as appropriate if risks emerge that could impede the attainment of the committee's goals. The committee assessment will take into account a wide range of information, including readings on public health, labor market conditions, inflation pressures, and inflation expectations, and financial and international developments. Yeah, so maybe one day I'll give them a call, be like, what's happening, Fed? Can you stop crushing us? No, but that is relatively new. That's what everyone's been waiting for. Now that's what it is. Now, the next one is the email, which is probably worth looking at. Now, I don't want to. All right. So this is it here. We have the. God, it never ends. I really want to open this other email. Okay, so the fate. Okay, this is like a 5-minute briefing. Here it is. The fate of the markers for the rest of 2022 and into 2023 hinges on an obscure bit of technology known as the terminal rate, as I mentioned before. Now, again, this is just me relaying. As we've done from time to time this year, we're hitting send on this edition of the 5 at exactly 2 p.m. Eastern Time, coinciding with the meeting of the Federal Reserve Open Market Committees, and with each step the committee takes toward a spectacular market crash. I'll let that sink in. The Fed is raising the Fed funds rate another half a percentage point to 4.5. The highest in 15 years, but as a reminder, the rate still sat near zero 9 months ago. So it's gone from 0 to 4.5. And as they pointed out, remember when it was 20%, but it wasn't starting at 0. So what feels more painful? There will be undoubtedly be details and nuances that we'll unpack tomorrow, but the point is, as Jim Rickards wrote in his countdown to crisis rates yesterday, it was pretty good watch. When the crash comes, it's going to be epic. Not a member. Yeah, okay. This is like some links. I won't put you guys through that. Now, before we dive into the whys and wherefores of the terminal rate, we pause a moment to examine the toll the job of the Fed chair is taking on Jerome Powell. Poor Mr. Powell. I can just think of him printing that money going brrr. We noticed a few weeks ago that Powell has well, good. I'll keep going. It's worth hearing this one. Now, crazy. Get some rest, bro. Get some rest. Now, before we dive into the whys and wherefores of the terminal rate, we pause a moment to examine the toll the job of Fed chair is taking on Jerome Powell. We noticed a few weeks ago that Powell has updated his official photo on the Fed website. The previous one dated to 2012, where he first took the seat on the Fed's Board of Governors. It's the older photo that prompted us years ago to remark on his aging movie heartthrob good looks. Oh, what a difference a decade makes. It's got how it started, how it's going. Dude's aged 20 years in the last 10, most of that in the last 5 since he was nominated as chair. He's now 69. And yet, when it came time to re-up for another 4-year term earlier this year, he was all on board. Brings to mind Henry Kissinger's line about how power is the ultimate aphrodisiac. That's 2 days in a row we've had an occasion to cite Henry the K. Okay. Yeah. So, what was that? Back to the Fed policy beyond today. Powell's plan is to keep raising rates until he reaches what is called the terminal rate. The terminal rate, says Jim Rickards. What's the terminal rate? No one knows. But the Fed has adopted the attitude that we'll know it when we see it. The working definition is a rate that's high enough to bring down inflation on its own without further rate hikes. And everything's just frozen. As we mentioned yesterday, inflation is still high, but falling steadily from 9.1 last June to 7.1 in November. According to the conventional wisdom on Wall Street, Powell's work is basically done. They could be right. With inflation coming down and a recession in the cards, says Jim, the market's view is that Powell will get the memo. He'll stop raising rates after today. He'll pivot to rate cuts by March or May. The economy will come in for a soft landing, so buy stocks. Just reread that one carefully. So, Jim's assessment. The market is right that inflation is coming down and a recession is in the cards, but the market is wrong that Powell will blink. He won't. He's in search of the terminal rate, the way that Ahab searched the the way that Ahab searched for the white whale in Moby Dick. I don't know, man. This whole, I don't know. Here's the reality. If they go bankrupt, if they go bankrupt though, that's covered. If they go bankrupt though, what's going to replace it? You know, the thing is, there's nothing to replace the Fed just yet. In theory, it could go bankrupt. It's quite possible that there is a war of some sort, which distracts the entire economy, which I'll get to in a minute because I've got the article ready. Also, the section where the stock market shut down for a period during, I think, 1914, that would effectively be the same as, you know, would be very similar to a like a failed Fed, which would be highly unlikely. But if nothing's working, then it's the similarities are there. That's what I keep thinking. Like, the Fed's going to fail, the US dollar's done, and everyone around the world's probably. Some people might be hoping for that, but I'm not one of them. You know, I'm hoping that the system stays. Yeah, I don't doubt that, man. They have to sell their assets and still. But the thing is, so that's. Yeah, it's weird, man. Like, you know how you got that. You look up where like the reserves are, and we're looking at the other day where it was 0%, and so you look at a accounting when the reserves were 10%, they break it down into a double-sided ledger, and basically how money is created. And I was looking at this last night because I couldn't sleep. And if you have like an easy number like 1,000, and then they take on 1,000, and then I guess they deposit that 1,000 to a bank, which is part of the Federal Reserve, and then the bank had to previously hold 10% as reserves, so it could only issue another 9,000. Oh my god, I can't do maths. So they had $1,000. They put it into the account. You've put the 1,000 into Bank A, and then on the liability side of the bank, it's $1,000. So what can they issue out as assets? They can create money from nothing. They can create, you know, issue $990 of new money. So they've got asset 9,900, liability 1,000, and that continues on. And basically, you know, then that person issues 9,900 to next person. That person maybe puts it in the same bank or a different bank within the system, and then it continues on. It can go through the cycle about 10 times or so. I can't remember. There's old economics books now that explain this. It's like double-sided ledger accounting, and how that's required for money to be anyway. And then, but basically, with the reserves at zero, it basically means infinite creation. So if someone, like, say they had a 14 billion, say they had $14 billion with zero reserves, it gives them the ability to infinitely produce that. It's mind bending. That's why we're going to see insane inflation. But I don't know what's going to happen because Yeah, like you said, they can't pay back their debt. They can't print their way out of it. So what? How does the system actually work? Is it gonna? I don't know. Maybe we're gonna see a big, giant, insane sale of assets. Maybe at the same time where there's a huge downturn in the market because as assets were being purchased, it was propping up the stock and propping up the economy, making it look like the stock market was heavily decorrelated from the real world, which I believe it is. Although, as everyone said, as you see the inflation of the dollar, that's why the stock market continues to go up, because the inflation in the dollar continues to go up, resulting in this, inflation, insane inflation that we're experiencing now. And then on top of that, they added in the supply crisis. And before that, they added in zero credit, which was like heavily encouraged people close to the printer to just keep spending, making that bubble even bigger. So, yeah. I think you're right, man. Oh, yeah. It's not even speechless. It's like, is it the Fed's inflation bug is what allows the currency to continue? But then everyone's saying, oh, it might be the end of the cycle. I don't know. Yeah, that's why I was going through some particular dates, and December 23rd, 2000, 1913, like almost Christmas Eve, they decided to roll out the Federal Reserve Act, and it's stayed in place up until this day. Convenient, because I guess that's how sometimes Parliament works. If one person comes in to object it can stop the movement, But who's even reading like those reams and reams of paper like I was trying to do? Imagine trying to do that and then trying to understand whether you're for or against it, or whether you just toe party lines. It's very, very it could be pretty cool to understand further. That's what we're trying to do, hopefully. But yeah, I'm waiting for something to do with a central bank digital currency or some sort to be rolled through the Fed. I mean, they've got a pilot program going on for 12 weeks. I'm not sure when that's ending. Imagine if it just doesn't end. Tie that in with the zero reserves, infinite money creation. Sounds great. Sounds great, I'll get back to this. But that is some good points. That's right, except for the ones that wanted to pay attention. Oh, there's just so much. Like, you could go so many places with that, I won't go into the whole movement and control of people. Yeah. Anyway. So, that's probably right. And all they could do was write about it later and say, we don't like this. And it's like, well, too bad, we all voted it in. So, okay, that sucks. Now, Jim's assessment is the market is right that inflation is coming down and recession is on the cards, but the market is wrong that Powell will blink. He won't. He's in search of the terminal rate the way Ab searched for the white whale in Moby Dick. Here's the reality. We are heading for recession. It will be especially acute because Powell will raise the rates too high. The terminal rate is already in the rearview mirror. The market cheerleaders are bidding up stock prices in the false hope that Powell will see the reason. Instead, Powell sees only models given him by the Fed's egghead economists. Models that time and again have led to the Fed crash the airplane instead of achieving the elusive soft landing. He wrote the book, the Jekyll Island, The Beast of Jekyll Island, or something like that. Edward G. Griffin, I'm pretty sure was his name. Pretty sure. He's very interesting. I watched his stuff years and years ago, like ages ago. Some of it was like deleted, like lost off the net. Is it the creature from Jekyll Island? I think it is. I signed up to his emails and yeah, as they come through, I sort of like, yeah, the creature from, yeah, that's the one. That's still on my like Audible. I'm still trying to get through so many books. It's insane. But yeah, that's some interesting stuff too. Maybe I just do a podcast playing that over. He is saying that the cheerleaders are building up stock, the price is false, hope Powell will see. Instead, Powell sees only models given him by the Fed economists, models that time again have led the crash the airplane instead of achieving the elusive soft landing, because everyone keeps hearing that soft landing. Instead, Powell sees only models blah, 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 blah. Now, we may be in the worst of all worlds, Jim concludes, where markets bid up stocks based on false hopes of Powell's intentions, and Powell continues raising rates based on false models. Result, as we've said all week, it's either nasty market reaction now or nasty market reaction later. So, some shilling, but with the Fed pulling the trigger again at the very moment, this massive, they got some typos, man. This message hits your inbox. The window of opportunity is slamming. Yeah, that's all right. Cool. Now, in the meantime, the markets are drifting slightly higher as the Fed announces approaches. So this was released at the time of the announcement. The Dow is up 1/3% to that. S&P is up 1/2, and Nasdaq is up. Blah, blah. Bond yields are mixed. 10-year Treasury a hair below 3.49%. Precious metals are little moved. Gold at 1,810. Silver at 23.76. Yeah, later, man. Where is it? But yeah, crude is up another $1.25 ahead of Energy Department's weekly inventory numbers to 76.64 a barrel. Repairs of the Keystone Pipeline leak in Kansas. If you need sleep, go and watch my other streams. Repairs of the Keystone Pipeline leak in Kansas are proceeding at a pace. Keystone operator TC Energy is promising a full restart by next Tuesday, pending federal approval of a restart plan, which, as we write, was the company hasn't submitted to the Feds yet. So crypto prices are hanging tough despite a new rapture in the space. Here we go. We've got Binance. Where is it? We got yesterday, Binance, the world's largest crypto exchange, halted withdrawals of the stablecoin USDC for about 8 hours amid as much as $3 billion in outflows. But Binance's own coin, known as BNB, still appears to be alright. Thus, at last check, the Bitcoin is just Bitcoin is just over 18,000 US, and Ethereum is sat at 1,340 US. Meanwhile, a judge in the Bahamas has denied bail to FTX co-founder Sam Bankman-Fried, who remained in a Bahamian lockup until at least February 8th, where whenever he is extradited to the United States, there is a good chance he'll be held at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York, the same place where Jeffrey Epstein was taken in 2019. So they have this here. I should laugh at that because that's kind of a serious topic. We have you'll be okay, Sam. Jail cameras will ensure your safety. Yes, just like they did to Epstein. Anyway, alternatively, it wouldn't surprise us if the feds ginned up excuses to keep SBF lingering in the Bahamian custody for a long time. Actually bringing a case to trial that could prove profoundly embarrassing for legions of people in America's power elite who either one, fell for SBF's long long song and dance, or 2 song and dance, or 2 actively colluded in his shenanigans. Well, the fuck is up? So we got, if you suspect there's less than meets the eye on too much ballyhooed fusion energy breakthrough announced by the government yesterday, you're right. So that was the energy announcement saying they might have found, infinite clean energy. Less than meets the eye. Okay. Scientists studying fusion energy at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory in California announced on Tuesday that they had crossed a long-awaited milestone in reproducing the power of the sun in a laboratory, was New York Times take. That sparked public excitement as scientists have for decades talked about how fusion, the nuclear reaction that makes the stars shine, could provide a future source of bountiful energy. Meh. Says our press. Even our energy spec expert Byron King, who has visited the National Ignition Facility in Livermore, California in 2013, NIF is a technological marvel, he says, pulling off achievements like getting lasers to converge from 190 different directions all at the same time down to the billionth of a second. It's pretty cool. All that technology just to generate heat, to boil water, and spin a turbine to create electricity. Fair enough. Did the Livermore breakthrough really generate more energy than it created? Says Paradigm Tech Specialist Ray Blanco. Since it doesn't account for the extreme inefficiency of the lasers or losses that would be involved if the energy given off by the reaction were to be harvested and used. Plus, it was a tiny bit of how they could ever scale this method to generate practical amount of energy. Bottom line, NIF is a true national asset, says Byron King, and we might see more advancements over the next 50 years, those of us who live so long. Don't buy into the hype, just wish everyone well and keep the funds flowing to NIF for more of that basic science. Okay, so we have, if you spend your money during the holidays on a performance of a nutcracker, you're enabling Russian aggression? What? Ukraine culture minister said his country allies could stop Russia from weaponizing its culture by temporarily boycotting Russian artists, including the nutcracker composer Tchaikovsky. Okay. The op-ed for The Guardian, Ukraine's culture minister, Oleksandr Tkachenko, writes that Vladimir Putin uses Russian culture as a tool and even a weapon against the West. Thus, he's urging a temporary boycott of Russian artists and composers. We're not talking about cancelling Tchaikovsky, but rather about pausing performances of his works until Russia ceases its bloody invasion. We took note way back in March when an orchestra in Wales cancelled an all-Tchaikovsky concert, even though Tchaikovsky died in 1893. And as one sensible person pointed out on social media, he was gay, liberal, and ultimately rejected Russian nationalism. So far, major ballot companies aren't budging from their plans to stage the Nutcracker over the holidays, not when, for instance, it accounts for nearly half of the New York City ballot's annual ticket revenue. The Nutcracker's secure place as a season tradition has made it into the crown jewel of every self-respecting troupe's repertoire, reports NPR, as well as its main moneymaker. To the mailbag and a reader's inquiry after yesterday's inflation numbers. I was wondering if inflation today is 7.1%, and if it's around 15% using the method the government used 40 years ago, and today's core PCE rate is 5%, wouldn't that equivalent core rate be around 10% using the 40-year-old method? If that's the case, and inflation is really running at 15%, then isn't it likely that the Feds get interest rates to 5%, inflation will still run rampant? Won't they need to get around 10% to really get inflation down? It's a pretty good question. That is a great question. The all-time peak in core PCE was 10.2 in February 1975, when Paul Newman and a cast of thousands were the big box office draw in The Towering Inferno, and Linda Ronstadt topped the charts with You're No Good. Another peak of 9.8% came in November 1980, when inflation frustrations helped sweep Ronald Reagan into the White House. So yeah, you're onto something with your 10% thinking. Remember, though, inflation is not, as the late Milton Friedman said, always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon. It is just as much a psychological phenomenon. If for whatever reason the people are too frightened to go out and spend money, then no amount of money printing by a central bank is going to generate broad increases in consumer prices. This has been the lesson of Japan for the last 3 decades. Abenomics, isn't it? The willingness to spend is what economists call velocity. Jim Rickards has been paying heed to velocity signals for many years. As painful as inflation has been throughout 2022, velocity has remained in check. That is, it is not as if folks are going to go out snapping up everyday goods at the store before prices go up again, even if we think that's a great idea. By large, they're grinning and bearing it, or even waiting for prices to come back down. The Fed plays heed to inflation expectations as much as it does inflation itself, and most folks, unlike you or me, pay attention only to the official managed and massaged inflation numbers. If the mainstream tells them inflation is back under control and the pace of price increases is slowing, well, it becomes something of a self-fulfilling prophecy. That said, inflation is back under control moment will come only after the Fed crashes the economy and the markets, which brings us which brings us back full circle to Jim Rickards' warning at the start of today's 5. Yes, I did watch it, and it was a good watch. Now, let's go over and remove this particular email and make sure the docs. We've got here, why did they arrest SBF? Maybe I covered this one. Maybe not. Alright. What's this one? May they rest in peace. Oh my god. Exactly at 2 p.m, today's Federal Reserve read the stock markets its last rites. Because, with company after company on the brink of collapsing, and no end to the impending stock market carnage in sight, you don't have long to prepare. Oh my god. Oh my god. Can we stop it? I don't think we can. So what happens during times of economic uncertainty, during times of huge market pullbacks? Well, at the same time, this time around, we have this. I don't want to cover this, man. Like, the nuclear Putin readies nuke missiles for launch as Yars rocket able to strike UK and US is locked and loaded inside near Moscow. So we have that. Now, it would be convenient, wouldn't it, to have some sort of conflict that could affect and distract. What's happening, Hex Huddle? This stream won't be as painful as some of my other ones. Yeah, I don't know if you saw them. I was just like literally reading from the Federal Reserve. But yeah. It would be convenient for some conflict to begin, you know, right around the stock market crash, I don't know, man. Again, military industrial complex. The war economy, so you feel the gap in GDP, you spend lots of money, and we have basically proxy wars between US and Russia currently going on in Ukraine, and now Russia's talking about their missiles are locked and loaded, which is great to know. Whether or not they actually launch them, like intercontinental ones versus versus tactical ones on the ground in Ukraine, which would also be a disaster for the entire world, is yet to be seen. But the reason I bring this up is basically because they're having a dick measuring contest with the missiles and stuff. But this here, when there was a World War, the London Stock Exchange was actually closed for a week, and the New York Stock Exchange never closed during World War II. But yeah, so it is possible during times of war that we see stock markets, close. And when they close, what can you do? Whether or not banks will close, I'm not sure. If it's one of those imaginable horribles, but maybe, just maybe, it could be on the cards that there's some large skirmish that takes place in Ukraine. I hope it doesn't. I really hope it doesn't. But it's like I don't know. Everyone's like gearing up for a soccer match, and like everyone's getting ready in their outfits, and so no, we don't want the soccer match to happen. But like, there's a crowd, there's a stadium. They're now starting to sing the national anthems, and it's like, how long until kickoff? Because it's not like they're just talking about planning this particular soccer match. It's actually, they're starting to, I don't know, maybe how close are we? How close are we? Have they sung the national anthems? Are they lining up, facing off with each other, or are they in the center and is the ball in place and they're about to blow the whistle and the match really begins? I don't know. I do not know. But that, ending on that wonderful note, oh my god, it just gets better. What time is it? It is 10:23. Okay, that's about all I got. Pretty interesting stuff regarding the interest rates. Not good regarding the war. The Federal Reserve has done what they said they would do. Now we wait until I think it's the February and March, Feb 1st, March 22nd, when it's going to be either 0.5, maybe 0.25, or 0.5, maybe 0.25, and we wait to see if this Russian war escalates further. And then we also watch as PayPal integrates with MetaMask. When about a year or so ago, they were talking about they'll be happy with crypto's progress, but they want to roll a central bank digital currency wallet, and there's a pilot program going on with the Federal Reserve. I'm not sure. Will it end? Will it end? Who knows? So that's why I'm waiting for releases from the Federal Reserve themselves, because my thoughts is that's where most likely the central bank digital currency would come from. The one that we would imagine being government sort of issued. Because, this is how the Fed works. These guys spoke today. It's what it is. It's just, it's insane. I should probably look at the prices of X, but it's just kind of depressing. Same with all there's one that's like mooning pretty hard, and then everything else is just flat, keeps being more flat. I don't know, people seem to think maybe that, I'm thinking maybe people are moving into stables because they think it's going to pull back further, and maybe they're going to either cash out or maybe they're going to buy some other assets as everything is crushed, because it's the age-old play whereby you short, a sort of the age-old play where you can short something in effect, and then when it goes lower you buy back more of it at a cheaper rate. So I guess moving from something to stables into, and then back into, assuming that it's going to go lower. Maybe that's what people are doing. I'm not sure. It's definitely going to be interesting once that flips. If it ever flips, I don't know if it will. If people begin to purchase more, and it goes from holding stables to actively maybe purchasing something, or maybe staking, affecting the T-share pool. But yeah, I'm in shock and awe, and I'm out in the real world trying to basically maybe get some like real life capital fiat, some dirty fiat, some I guess Reserve Bank of Australian fiat, and trying to purchase some crypto eventually after I get some other bills under control, because I refuse to sell. Well, I don't like the idea of selling any HEX at this moment because it's so low. But then again, if you had mass amounts of HEX and maybe you skim off the top the interest or the assets that you printed, maybe people are skimming that. I can understand that, because I had some talks with the missus, and it might be needed in the next month to 3 months to actually take some HEX off of the out of HEX and maybe into stables or something. But I'm really not sure, because the whole economy is not looking healthy, and it's like, oh, I could sit on some fiat, or I could sit on some USDC, or I could sit on some T-shares. It's like, which one? But then obviously if people they need to pay some bills and stuff, they got their footings out and they haven't got enough like real world capital to cover whatever their lifestyle is, then that's what it's there for. The money, the literal money printer. I guess it's a time game. I guess, yeah, it would be good to see one day the price go up, but the only way for price to go up would be for people to stop selling. And in this this environment, it's, if people haven't got any other forms of income, and say HEX is their only form of income, maybe that's what's going on. Maybe that's why the movement to stables. I don't know. I really don't know. Don't know what to say. But yeah, I'll jump on stream, say what is happening to everyone, and show you some future moves that are probably going to happen, focusing on the Federal Reserve. It's funny, we see PayPal showing its hand in terms of the willingness to work with cryptocurrency, which is good, but at the same time, they're talking about they want to be working with central bank digital currencies as well. And then we just basically the KYC stuff with PayPal account. And although it is similar to when you use an exchange, and the positive I can see, if you don't look at all the negative, could be, like I said earlier in the stream, basically if PayPal is a purchase option within Amazon or eBay and stuff like that, then also maybe then if you have $100 in USDC, maybe that $100 will appear as spendable on PayPal. So whether or not they have a exchange in place whereby you exchange your stable for $1 US, one stable for $1 US, whatever the peg is, whatever the exchange rate. I'm not sure if that's a thing, or if it's just purely, it allows you to interface, access PayPal's front end, and there's a MetaMask option there, and you create your wallet, etc. Who knows? Time will tell, and I'll wrap this one up very soon. In about, about 15 seconds, I reckon. That's about it. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you heard what I was saying, and might be paying attention to some future interest rates. If not, all good. Keep doing you. All right, peace out.